Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies. So special guest, Tim Davis. This is the podcast where all three of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater. And now we're going to talk about it in Matt Todd the Pilot, in the parking structure right next to the movie theater, giving our gut reactions. And we're going to talk about such things as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you bring your family? Could you bring a date? Should you go by yourself? Do you need to pay attention? Can you slack off? Can you go to bed? Can you craft? Can you eat? All these questions, we're going to try to touch on them and also, spread a little joy in your lives. I added that one for this week. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy, and yes, I think we should both spread a little joy and slack off. We're here back again to talk about a movie. This movie is called Red One. It is a Christmas time movie for us.
Caper even.
An action Christmas movie. Who would have thunk? But anyway, there's some people in it. Tim, tell us who those people are that we might know and want to see this movie because they're in it.
Quite a star-studded cast, actually, on this one. We've got good old Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is probably the lead of this. He's basically Santa Claus's main bodyguard. We've got Santa Claus himself is J.K. Simmons, who's been around forever, and how hasn't he played Santa yet? Chris Evans, good old Captain America himself, is the level 4 naughty lister, as he's said in the trailer, who basically gets roped into. He's our guy guiding us through this world.
Oh, sorry.
Denzel Washington.
Denzel spoke from my phone.
He's not in this. I wish he was. And then we have Lucy Liu shows up as the leader of a mythological agency that's helping them find out what happened to Santa in this movie. And then some other household names show up in smaller parts. I always like to see Bonnie Hunt. She shows up in this as Mrs. Claus. And good comedian Nick Kroll shows up as a nefarious character, I would say. And that's mostly it for the household names.
All right, thank you. And so what is this movie all about? The plot here is very simple.
Yes.
We are plunged into the world of Santa getting ready for Christmas and his big flight around the world, and something goes wrong and he is kidnapped by nefarious people, and the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character, whose name is what?
Callum Drift. Action hero name.
Yes. He's the head of Santa's bodyguard or protection
security team. I
guess. Yes. He goes on a quest to try and find Santa and engages the help of one Jack O'Malley, who's played by Chris Evans, and he is a tracker, hacker, basically a guy who does whatever you need him to do to find people for money. And no
scruples, as he would say.
No scruples, right. So he is on the naughty list, but he is engaged in the hunt for Santa, and the movie is about finding Santa and freeing him from the people who took him. Mm-hmm. So there is that. Todd, what are your Red One thoughts, your gut reaction to this movie?
Well, let me dig in here, warm up a little bit.
Are they nice or naughty thoughts?
Oh, yes.
So, I'm trying to choose my words carefully.
Yep.
I think... first I want to say this movie is run-of-the-mill, who cares? Is my overall thought about it.
Okay.
However, outside of that, I think there is a really interesting story here that they did not tell. They told the wrong story. The story to me was not only the secret agency that keeps all of this under wraps and government conspiracies and the fact that the governments of the world are in on this big secret of Santa Claus and mythological creatures in general.
Yeah.
That's an interesting movie to me. However, I still feel like the main story that was touched on a lot in this movie, but I felt should have been the main story, was The Rock's character, that he has seen humanity kind of fall apart, and there's more naughty listers on the naughty list than ever, more than nice, and he's kind of lost his
Christmas spirit.
Christmas sparkle.
Yes.
I think that was the story to tell. Like, that's an interesting story to me. A person who's been working with Santa for so long and has seen humanity get worse and worse and worse, that they want to quit their job with Santa because they can't take it anymore. They can't take the naughty listers. That was the movie to me to make. Like, you incorporate the fact that there's this mythos,
Right.
and I don't know, people of a certain age or parents might be in on it. I don't know. They kind of made it a little vague. Certainly the governments of the world, we are shown, are keeping the secret. The government helps out Santa and other mythological creatures like that. But especially in today's climate and what's going on, and not just like what's happened in the last couple of weeks, the fact that, you know,
A cynical world we live in.
yeah, I like the idea of telling a story, and not through action and not through like all that kind of stuff, that a person who has lost their hope in what they used to put all their hope in can find it again through a compelling story. This didn't need to be an action movie. It didn't need to be a comedy. Like, it could have been something real special, I think. Like, it could have been, if it was played serious, I think this could have been something very, very, very good and very almost genre breaking. And it just didn't. It decided at every turn to play the safe, goofy, throw in an action scene, throw in a CGI battle here, throw in some scenes of Chris Evans and The Rock being Chris Evans and The Rock and playing off of each other like that. And that's just all stuff like that we've all seen before. Like, I just thought there was a compelling thing to this movie, and they chose the wrong story to tell. But that being said, the story that they told was very paint by numbers. Like, at no point did I really feel like I was surprised by anything. I just really felt like, instead of taking a risk, they played every safe choice possible through this whole thing, including who they cast in this movie and stuff like that. And that, honestly, didn't just mesh well with me. Like, it just felt like, here's a movie just to throw out a Christmas movie. We're going to throw in Chris Evans and The Rock to build star power. Come and see the movie. That's what this is going to be built about. Like, and this movie's not going to do well. It's not going to make its budget back because it's got a bloated budget. It's projected to do like $30 million for an opening weekend, but for a movie that cost like $190 something to make, like, and it's just, I think for these movies, Hollywood is not picking up the message that right now we are burnt out on these movies. Like, we don't want to see these movies as much as we used to. You cannot put The Rock and X person in a movie and expect it to do incredibly well anymore. It's lazy. That's what it is. It's laziness. Like, so I feel kind of upset about this movie. I felt like I didn't have high expectations. And then, I feel like everyone did fine in their jobs. Chris Evans was fine. The Rock was fine. Lucy Liu was fine. Like, everyone's fine, but there was no, like, special factor to take this movie to the next level. Like, that I would say, oh, well, this could be a Christmas movie going forward. Like, I would recommend this Christmas movie. I can't. Like, it's just so average. Like, everything was average. The story was average. Everything was average. And the stuff that they really felt like I thought to put in the movie, the gadgets and the CGI, just didn't land with me. I think, and maybe I would venture to say didn't land with the audience as much as they thought it would. Like, this movie rested on its gimmicks. It's rested on its, comedy scenes, even though it's an action movie and a Christmas movie. It just had too much going on. They could have stripped it bare, made something special, but they didn't do that. They went typical Hollywood tropes. So, should you see this movie? I mean, I'm sure there's a demographic for this movie. Like, if you've got a, child who is from 8 to maybe 18 who's a big fan of The Rock and loves The Rock movies and all that kind of stuff, I guess this would be a movie for them. If you're into Christmas movies, maybe this will land with you. But on a merit of, was this a good movie to see in theaters? I don't know if I could really say go see it. Like, if you want an average movie to have an average night in your average day, this is the movie to go see. So, yeah, I mean, that's where I'm going to land. I'm trying not to punch down on this woman, but the main bad person in this movie is an actress who I have never enjoyed in anything she's been in. And
this wasn't exactly a deep part anyway.
Yeah, and it just like, even the small amount of stuff that she had to do felt like it was a chore for me to get through. And I'll say the same thing about Nick Kroll's weird performance. It was way over the top and overdone. His entire scene, he gets taken over in a trance, and this is kind of like the mediator between the main bad guys talking to the good guys. And it was so overdone that it was so distracting and so bad. It just ruined the scene for me. Like, really, really tanked the entire thing that was going on. By the time the snowmen showed up and we got into an action battle, I was already done with the whole thing. Like, I was like, thanks, Nick Kroll. You ruined it for me. So, yeah, I guess I'm landing on don't see this movie. You know? I do mean it. It is the most average Christmas movie that anyone could possibly make and put out there, in my opinion. So do with that as you will. If you want an average Christmas movie, you're looking for something safe to take your kids to, this is it. You know, it's only got some cursing and some mild action. You're good to go. But yeah, that's about it. Tim?
Yeah, I kind of mirror your thoughts here, Todd. I think my 2 words for this, if I were to sum it up quickly, is unrealized potential. When I saw the trailer for it and I thought, Chris Evans, The Rock, JK is Santa, like that's a formula. It sounds like a good formula for a new Christmas classic that could maybe add to the pantheon of Christmas movies that, become some people's traditions and stuff. And I'm always ready for it. I feel like it has been a few years since we've had a good big Christmas movie. And I always like different takes on the Santa lore. Because, it's such a free range ideas of imagination that you can come up with to figure out how Santa does what he does, try and explain the magic and maybe add some new wrinkle to it that makes it plausible and believable and yet in a fun, magical way. And I'm always up to see what different movies do. And what I'll give this movie credit for is I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff in the movie. But like Todd said, they don't give you enough of it, or it's not the focus it should be. Like the whole idea of Santa having a security team I thought was a really interesting wrinkle. The fact that Santa does sometimes go out not at Christmas to, he wants to visit with the kids because it's all about helping children to him, and then the fact that The Rock would be, or he'd have a team around him to make sure nothing goes wrong or no one catches the secret or whatever you want to say. And I thought that was a fun angle. And then when you get to the North Pole, there's some really neat ideas going on, and and then this whole extra layer of the mythological world that's brought into this movie. Again, it's like there's some interesting stuff here, and you can really play with it. And then we get the generic tropes that you said, and then we get all the action scenes that are, some are clever, but the CG was not good for a movie that supposedly cost this much, and it looked rushed, and it looked like this is what we went with, and the comedy scenes weren't really all that funny, and I expected something to have a little more joy. That's a Christmas movie, a little more fun, having a little more fun. It's like they did play it serious, but the wrong kind of serious, where everyone was kind of mellow and down, and the delivery of a lot of lines is one note, and it just felt like there was more chances to play with this and have more fun with this kind of movie, and it could have been a really much more fun. And I don't think fun is the word I would use to describe this movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's we've seen some bad movies this year. I don't think it's anywhere near that, but I also don't think it's anything special either, and it could have been, and that's what bothers me a little bit. So like I said, I'm disappointed more than anything, and it's just this could have been good or great, and it's just okay. And it's also skippable. Yet also, if you saw it, I don't think you'd regret it, but you also would be like, well, okay. But it's not going to enter the big list, so to speak, of Christmas movies that become classics for all time.
You wanted to be a proud papa, but you're a disappointed papa.
You got it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I get it.
Which is a theme in the movie, but not quite.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so I will say, yeah, I don't think I would recommend. It's nothing to rush out and go see, unless you just are feeling a Christmas movie with some new takes on. If you want to see the new takes on the Santa lore that this movie takes, but again, you could probably read that in a Wikipedia article if you really wanted to.
I do have to say that this movie would be elevated slightly to me if, and I thought they were going to throw this in, because I'm like, how could you not throw this in? Is the possibility that Mariah Carey has elevated herself to like a force of nature status for Christmas?
I would
Like,
totally
I
have
really
taken that.
thought
I totally
we were
would have
like,
taken
I was like,
Have
you know,
fun. Again, that's
let's-
fun.
Exactly. I was like, and it just never came. And I was so confident it was. I was like,
Fun was the missing word.
they
of
didn't
this
want to
movie.
pay her. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the sad part is that we could have had fun here, and instead we just kind of okay,
Yeah.
great. Matt, do you agree or disagree?
Oh,
Well, I agree that fun is not the word that describes this movie.
Yeah,
I would say the word that describes this movie is bland.
yeah, bland's a good word. That's a good
It's
for something that tried to be colorful.
yeah. I agree almost 100% with what you
Yeah.
guys said. You know, was there some cool stuff? Yeah, there was some cool stuff. They didn't execute it very
capitalize
well.
on it. Yeah.
No,
It's like when you go to a party and you're a kid and there's like just a lot of candy out, like bowls of candy
okay, yeah.
all around, and you like go around and you're like, oh, look at this candy. I don't get a lot of candy at home. I'm gonna enjoy this candy, and there's all these bowls of it around, and you're like, oh, this is so great, and then. But the party's just like lame, and like there's nothing going on at the party. There's
candy
only
can
these
only-
bowls of
and
candy.
the
Yeah, a
candy
lot
only
of
lasts
standing
so long.
around and people looking at each other.
Yes.
You know, almost like a middle school dance, like a lot of people
Right.
just
Yes.
standing
Right.
on the wall.
I would describe this movie as a middle school dance with a lot of bowls of candy out.
So lots of awkwardness and yes, right.
And the candy was advertised. So you're like, yeah, I came
Yep.
for the candy. Here's the candy.
Good call.
Oh yeah, I saw
yeah.
I saw the candy in
Yeah.
the trailer.
You're like, okay, yeah, I saw the candy. I kind of thought they'd be dancing and other stuff here too, but
There
you know, we're all just standing. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all standing.
Waiting for something to
It's
happen.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that the story was like it's a simple story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, Santa gets captured. They've got to get him back, right? But I thought that there was there could have been better ways to tell the story that were more interesting, more engaging, and then you have the candy too, and it's good, and you enjoy the movie, and you know I don't think it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
I think that there are so many Christmas movies that are not good. Like you
That's
think
fair.
of like Hallmark Channel and
turning out
Agreed,
these-
yeah,
dumping out all
like-
those.
Sure.
This is better than that.
Yes.
I would
yes.
agree. Yeah.
The acting was good for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
most part
Everyone's
in the
trying.
movie. People tried, and we had our bowls of candy, but it wasn't enough to elevate it past. This is an average movie. I think in the pantheon of Christmas movies, this is maybe a little bit above average for a Christmas movie, because I think in general those aren't very good movies. They're often overly sentimental. And,
They are very much all very similar.
yes.
Yeah, which is
So,
fine.
so I think that I would say average movie, but above average Christmas movie, but still not a great.
Yeah, I would say the most elevated Christmas movies are like, to me, I'm thinking of Elf right now, and I'm like,
Elf is the
talk
first
about an X Factor story has never been told before, and they went all in on that story. They went
And
all in on the most
everybody committed.
interesting thing about that story.
Yep.
And this one didn't. It was like, we're
Yes.
going to introduce elements of an interesting story, but then we got to get to our next action scene. So let's get the snowman in here, or whatever, or a big CGI battle that wasn't really good. The whole ending battle was one of the worst things I've ever
Yeah.
seen, because I can't follow what's happening.
No, it was
like,
it was all in the dark.
and that's the
It was
mark
dark,
of bad
right.
CGI. It's like, you know, we can't afford to really go into detail here, so we're gonna block everything out. So you gotta, like, your mind fills in the gaps. Like,
Yeah, no, yeah. It was,
so yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
I could have done also for some more scenes of Chris Evans questioning everything,
Yes.
and The Rock's serious response to Like the hardest I chuckled in this movie was to the level 4 naughty lister.
Yes.
When he was like, "Oh, you think that's a joke?" Like stepping up
And
on
then
him.
and
like,
then
mad
and then
about
another one. Someone had to hold Rock back because it's like.
But then it was like every time we got close to another one, it was like,
yes.
How average can we make this scene?
Yeah, it really was.
We come back to Chris Evans as a bad dad. Okay,
Yes.
we get it. Chris Evans is a bad dad. You introduced that at the beginning of the freaking movie. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. Like
that goes back to my unrealized potential because they'd have little blurbs like that where you're like, ooh, that's fun. And where like The Rock says something like, where his character would take things seriously in that world, but the response to him is what could be funny, and there just wasn't enough response. Like, or you get that little blurb like you said of his anger, and then they wouldn't go back to it. And it's just like the fact that The Rock's character would take naughty listers seriously, like he doesn't even want to work with the guy. How dare this guy? I know how bad he is. Or just, and there was a couple other lines like that would be thrown in, and like, it's like smart, but and like there's a little bit of like it's like you said, the little candy. Someone hands you a candy right then, you're like ooh, and then it's like gum that loses
more of those
flavor.
scenes would not have made it a good movie, but it would have made it a little bit more enjoyable,
a little more fun.
Like,
yes, the fun we're looking
like the
for.
main points of what we're talking about. I think are the only ways to make this a good movie, but a little bit more like Chris Evans and The Rock playing off each other. At least what maybe could have had me chuckle a little bit more.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
But, all right. Anyway.
Yeah.
Getting down to it.
All right.
How many magical dungeon snow globes would you give this movie? Which I can't tell if I like it or hate it. The magical dungeon snow. I'm like, this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever experienced, but I cannot tell if I liked it or I didn't like it.
It made sense.
So 0 being the worst because then you have none, and what a sad Christmas. 5 being the best because then you have 5, and that's a good Christmas, I guess.
I guess, unless you get captured in one of them.
True.
Forever.
True.
Yeah.
Forever.
Matt?
Well, I'm going to go with 2.8 magical dungeon snow globes out of 5. Like I said, I think this is a very average movie. There were some fun uses of the German language in this, which I think got it an extra couple tenths of a point of dungeon snow globe for me. But overall, average movie, slightly above average for a Christmas movie. So that's where we get 2.8 from me.
Nice. Tim?
Yeah, like you said, it's right in that middle range, and it could have been so much higher had there been more fun and maybe more lore exploration. But the lore, for me, got it just above average, so I have it at a 2.6.
Fair. I think for me, I mean exactly what I say, that this is the most average movie you could ever see. So I'm at a dead even 2.5. Like, it is, if you want to go see a movie and walk out the movie and be like, well, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it, like, then this is the movie for you. Like, if you, like, it's just like, I think that's fair. I mean, that's exactly how I felt walking out of the theater. I was like, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. So I guess I'm just here. Like,
I saw the movie.
So, yeah, it was a movie, technically. So yeah, I mean, which is kind of sad. I mean, it's I don't know if this is sad, but it's kind of weird to see The Rock's fading star at this point. Like,
I wouldn't say he even did anything wrong in this movie.
No, really, I would say the thing he does wrong is sets himself up to be the same character in every movie.
That is
like dead serious. He is playing the same character, except take out all of the Christmas stuff and put in art thief stuff, and he is the same character from Red Notice. Like, it is the same thing every time now. Like, and that, I think that's what he doesn't realize, which is contributing to his fading star, is that you keep picking the same roles, and it is not 8 years ago. Like, we've seen it, we've experienced it. Now you need to move on to something else that's going to captivate our attention, or you can't, and it's just over, or at least take a break. Like, take a break for a couple of years and then come back strong with something good and meaty and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I know that I'm best friends with The Rock, and he listens to this. I'm just trying to give him some good advice, but
he's got bills to pay, Todd.
I mean, I get it. I get it. Hopefully, Moana 2 can brighten his star,
right
but
around the
I
corner.
really don't think. I really think they've downplayed the marketing of this movie, because they know it's not good, is typically a sign to me that Disney does not trust their property when it is not crammed down your throat. So, we'll see. You heard it here first.
Stay tuned to the podcast for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, before we wrap up, I thought I'd ask a question. We brought up the movie Elf.
We did.
Is Elf your go-to Christmas movie, or is there something else? For me,
Boy, it's a great one.
it is my go-to. That is it for me.
It's
Elf.
probably the most recent of the Christmas movies of recent years to enter I would say, the hallowed top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's my go-to though. I do love it. I've always been a big fan of the Jim Carrey Grinch. That's a great movie to me. But I have a soft spot from nostalgia from my youth of Ernest Saves Christmas.
Okay.
I think that
It's a
one
good
never
one.
gets enough play.
That's a tough one. I mean, I like Elf.
Scrooged is
I did
great.
not like... I think at one point I would have said Scrooged. But I think Scrooge is a good one. I
is a good
typically watch Scrooge every year around Christmas. So
That's a
it
fun one,
might
too.
fit the description just on a technicality. But I think... And this is just recently I made this change. So it's interesting that you're asking this question.
Yeah,
Because I had an in-depth conversation with someone at work about
Yeah,
this.
okay.
And I was like,
you
yeah,
got?
you won me over.
What you got?
I think from now on, going forward, I definitely watched it the last 2 years, and I think it's going to be my thing going forward. Is that I think A Nightmare Before Christmas
Well, that's a good dark
is
horse
going
one,
to be
too.
my go-to
Yeah.
Christmas movie. And it's only because I was talking to someone, one of my employees, who just loves that movie, and I was like, of course, I was like, did you watch it on Halloween? And she was like, no, that's a Christmas movie.
movie.
And I was like, wow, you are challenging my reality right now. And I think she
That's a
won me
good-
over.
I
I do
think that
love that
qualifies
movie,
too.
and
I
it
think that-
does cover the spirit of Christmas and stuff like that. It does not cover the spirit of Halloween.
in a Halloween
it never
setting.
really touches
Yeah.
about it. It is covering the spirit of Christmas. And then you have your people out there, and I'm going to take my 2 seconds here to throw this out there. That's going to be like, Die Hard is my Christmas movie. Get the heck out of here with the
It's
Die
set
Hard
at
crap.
Christmas, but
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
If the movie is set with Christmas in the background, it is not a Christmas movie. Christmas has to be the forefront of the story,
Right.
in my opinion. That's what makes it a Christmas story.
I agree with that.
And I'm even cutting my own out because you asked me 10 years ago, I might have said Lethal Weapon is my favorite Christmas movie.
That's also,
But I had
set
a
accurate,
serious
right, yeah,
come
sure.
to Jesus moment with these movies, and I was like, Christmas is not the main story. It is in the background. It is set in the background of Christmas, but without it being the main story, it is not a Christmas movie.
Another honorable mention, I'll say, as far as recent movies. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. It's on Netflix, but the Kurt Russell Christmas Chronicles is also.
I have
rather
wanted to watch.
charming.
I have not watched it, but I do love Kurt Russell.
Yes, I would say he's a pretty good Santa.
Haven't
too.
you watched it? Haven't we talked about that before? No, you haven't.
Nope.
Oh,
The second one isn't as good as the first, but the first one's a fun ride.
well, that's typically true for most things.
Yeah. But it's fun. He's a great Santa. So that's another dark horse. I can see some people, like younger generations, saying that's theirs now.
Great.
Other
for
honorable
sharing.
mentions. I know.
Yes.
We have friends who Home Alone is there.
Sure,
Is that
sure.
Christmas
Home
movie?
Alone, I can see that qualifying.
What about Christmas Story?
You know,
See, I
I've
don't
always
know
thought
if-
that one was overrated myself.
I will typically, really honestly, you know what made it a Christmas movie for me for many years is that TNT would do the 24 hours of a
I think
Christmas
they
story.
still do that. I think they still
And
do.
so, it would guarantee that I'd watch it at some point because it would be like a straight 24 hours of this movie. But I don't know. I honestly think that one's kind of fallen by the wayside.
as has Christmas Vacation.
Like, I
would say.
can't think Christmas Vacation, because I think everyone hates Chevy Chase at this point. So it's like hard to really
And I
watch
always
those
that was
movies.
another one that a lot of.
But that
other
was a
people
great. I think
did.
that is a great Christmas movie. Like
Sure.
a great example.
But it's not my go-to
It's
to watch.
hard when Chevy Chase is Chevy Chase.
Fair enough.
You opened a can of worms with that question.
I did. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Good chat. Good discussion.
Yes.
Um,
In other words, all these other movies are better Christmas movies than Red One.
well, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we watched the movie and reviewed the movie Red One. And we gave it an average rating of 2.6 and a third. What did we call it? A
Holiday Snow Globe.
Holiday
yeah.
Dungeon Snow
dungeon,
Holiday
snow globe.
Yeah.
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 That shows you how bad it is. We
Something.
can't even remember the the plot
gimmick.
device.
Well, now I'm only thinking about other Christmas movies at this
Yes.
point. Like,
Yeah.
We've
I was trying
gone
to
off
think,
the,
what didn't we bring up?
I'm sure there's some.
we've gone off the track. But anyway, thank you, listener, for listening, downloading the old podcast, and subscribing. And please continue to do those things. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.